Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Rosenbusch The Quest RB200. This watch is available from rosenbuschwatches.com for €1,050. Rosenbusch are a microbrand based in Germany. Their watches are made in Germany using Swiss-made Sellita calibers. The Quest RB200 is available in 4 colour options: Midnight Blue, Deep Black, Emerald Green and Sterling Silver. Of the 4 colour options, I think this Midnight Blue version is the best looking. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a watch box which is housed inside this outer black cardboard box. One removes the lid, which is a snug fit, pulls down the flap, and inside we have the watch box, which I'll take out and show you. So this is the watch box itself, aesthetically pleasing, finished in matte black, and on the lid we have a glossy black Rosenbusch emblem. Now, securing the hinge lid from opening too far, good attention to detail because we have a black ribbon, and the interior is fully upholstered with a contrasting grey velour fabric to a good standard. In the base, in the left hand side, we have a cutout which houses the padded pillow cushion that the watch sits on, upholstered with grey velour fabric to a good standard, and it's a good snug fit in the base, so it does a good job of protecting the watch in shipping. In the right hand portion there's also a cutout, so the watch comes with the rubber strap fitted to the head of the piece, but I've exchanged it for the bracelet because I wanted to test both. But you can also use the cutout in the right hand side of the base to house the rubber strap, which I'll take out and show you. Now there's also a cutout in the right hand side for 2 items which I'll show you. The first one is the owner's instruction manual, which is in the form of a card. On the reverse there's a QR code you can scan with your Android or iPhone, and that will download the owner's instruction manual. Clear, concise diagrams. The instructions are bilingual, both in English and German, and it details the operation of the movement use, which is the Sellita Caliber SW200-1 automatic. And one also gets this cardboard envelope which houses the plastic warranty card. Inside you can see the warranty card has a unique warranty number embossed in silver, so very aesthetically pleasing. I'm pleased to report that the Quest RB200 is covered by a 2-year international warranty. And I want to give due credit to Rosenbusch here, because often microbrands at this price point of €1,050 in the mid-tier only cover their watches with a 12-month international warranty. So to get 2 years of warranty is very good, and they deserve full credit for that. So, good presentation. I like the watch box and I like the presentation of it with the items in the cutouts, and clearly one immediately gets the impression that the Quest RB200 is a high quality piece. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 42mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 49.9mm, a thickness of 12.1mm, and an integrated bracelet. The lug width of the integrated bracelet at the widest point is 25.4mm, tapering down to 18mm at the 2-button push butterfly clasp. Now, the one negative of this piece that I want you to be aware of, now this is subjective, but I would like to see the butterfly clasp signed either with the Rosenbusch emblem or alternatively Rosenbusch text logo, or ideally both. For example, on the top link they could engrave the emblem, and on the lower link they could engrave the Rosenbusch text logo, because that would give the piece a higher quality feel, rather like a high tier piece costing in excess of €5,000. But one has to be realistic and expect some cost-cutting measures at this price point at €1,050 in the mid-tier in order to make this piece viable to retail, because it is made in Germany using a Swiss-made Sellita SW200-1. So we have a flat sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished baton handset, the silver mirror polished second hand on the subdial, and the baton applied indices, and also the stick indices applied to the subdial in the centre of the dial. So we have a short second hand which is mirror polished to a flawless standard, and that registers on the subdial in the centre of the dial, which is octagonal shape. Now, with regards to the shape of the dial and also the head of the piece, it's clearly inspired by 1970s Gerald Genta design. For example, it looks very similar to an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak with the octagonal bezel with the 8 flat head screws on the bezel. So I like that 1970s Genta design, and Rosenbusch deserve full credit because they have created an original design, but it's clearly inspired by Genta's 1970s design, such as the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. So just the perfect balance. It's not an homage to the Royal Oak, but it does look influenced by it, which is fair enough. My favourite aspect of the dial, this midnight blue version, is the dial has a radial sunburst effect to it. So when you tilt the piece, it changes from a dark blue, which is like navy blue, almost an indigo purple colour, to an electric blue colour. And it's absolutely gorgeous, the radial metallic finish to the sunburst dial. They deserve credit because rather than just using a textured dial, or alternatively a Grand Tapisserie dial as per the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, for example, with a mesh formation to it or grid formation, it's got a metallic finish to the sunburst dial. The legibility is very good. The AR coating works very well. The baton handset is finished to perfection, flawless mirror polishing. The minute hand is long enough, the hour hand is long enough to extend all the way to the applied indices. And I like the sub-dial, which is octagonal shaped in the centre of the dial. It adds interest to it, and I think they deserve credit, rather than just using the default option of a full-size second hand registering on the white minute ticks. On the chapter ring, this sub-dial in the centre does add some interest, and the silver stick indices do contrast very well with the sub-dial. Quality of the printing to the Rosenbusch text logo at 12 o'clock in white is crisp, it's high definition and sharp, the font isn't too thick, it's not blurry, it's high grade finishing. White minute ticks on the chapter ring are also printed with high definition, and the quality of the printing on the dial is excellent throughout because automatic at 6 is also high definition and sharp. Either side of the 12 o'clock index, just at the base of the dial at 6, we have made in Germany because this piece, the Quest RB200, is indeed made in Germany. So, sunburst dial is gorgeous. I like the blue tone of the midnight blue version, and also like that it graduates because the chapter ring is darker than the centre of the dial, and I like the radial finish to it. So the mirror polished indices are very aesthetically pleasing. Also the applied Rosenbusch emblem at 12 o'clock adds interest, but it's very well finished. So good quality dial. The date complication is framed at the 3 o'clock position with a silver frame, correctly proportioned. Now the thing I like about the dial is it's not too thick. Often mid-tier brands, micro brands, have a tendency to make the dials too thick, and the problem is that creates a shadow around the date window. And this is good because the white date wheel is clearly legible. There is no shadow around it, and the printing of the single and the double Arabic numerals on the date wheel are crisp, they're high definition, they're sharp, they're not too thick and blurry, the font isn't too thick. So legibility of the date complication is excellent, and I like that the dial is close to the underside of the sapphire crystal, and the date and date window are also close, so there's no shadow around the date, one can clearly read it. With regards to the bezel, it does have an octagonal shape to it as per the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. I like the flat screws, and I like the way the slots in the screws are lined up pointing towards the cannon pinion, the centre of the dial, so that's good. Brushed satin finish longitudinally to the top edge of the bezel, and that contrasts with the mirror polishing to the edge of it, as you can see. And I like the way the flat sapphire crystal has a bevel which projects above the bezel because it catches the light, and this piece is surprisingly very low profile for an SW200-1 powered piece with an exhibition case back. It's only 12.1mm thick. One would expect 13mm because it's 100m water resistant. So with regards to the crown, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, screw down crown, coin edge finished, nice chamfer to it which deletes the sharp tips of the coin edge teeth, and it's mirror polished to a good standard and engraved with the Rosenbusch emblem with high definition engraving. So let's test the screw down crown execution. Silky smooth. This is sublime screw down crown execution. Minimal number of turns required to unscrew it. Now to put this into perspective, this is fantastic screw down crown execution. It feels like a screw down crown on a high tier piece costing in excess of €5,000. It's every bit as smooth as a Rolex triplock crown used on a Submariner date, a Omega Seamaster screw down crown, or a Tudor Black Bay crown. That is the level of refinement and smoothness we're talking about. Silky smooth. Perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. Now, strictly speaking, this is a daily wear piece, so they could have used the push-pull crown. Screw down crown is strong specification. They could have also reduced the specification to 50 meters, but this has 100 meters, so it's very good to see a screw down crown versus push-pull crown and 100 meters versus 50 at this price point. So when it's unscrewed fully, we can manually wind the Sellita Calibre SW200-1 automatic. Now, you'll know from my previous reviews, the Calibre SW200-1 is one of my personal favourite Swiss calibers. I like the reliability, the accuracy, the hand winding, the hacking, and also the quick set complication. It's an excellent Swiss made caliber. The correct choice at this price point. So one can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. Feels nice and smooth to manually wind, and I like the feeling of it. Good meshing of the gearing, feels refined, also feels robust and reliable, and I like the feeling of the medium resistance to the mainspring. You can feel the tension gradually build up to 41 hours maximum. Feels like an absolute pleasure to manually wind. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. So if you look at the date window at 3 o'clock, which is framed in silver to match the applied indices, the quick set complication clicks over with a nice positive click. Now in terms of how it feels, the clicking sensation feels exactly the same as an ETA 2824-2 because the SW200-1 has the same architecture. It's a clone of the ETA 2824-2. The only difference between the architecture of the two movements is the ETA 2824-2 has 25 joules and the SW200-1 has 26 respectively, but other than that, they're identical movements. They feel exactly the same. It does feel heavier than an NH35A, which you will all be familiar with. It doesn't have the heavy feeling of clicking over to the next day of the month. Lighter, feels more like a Miyota 9015 or 9039, which you may be familiar with. So I like the feeling of it. Clicks over with a good positive click. Now the thing I really like about the date complication is the dates wheel has high definition printing of the Arabic numerals. Both the singles and the doubles align correctly. They're not too far to the left or the right of the framed date window, and they're not too high or too low in the date window. So the alignment is bang on the centre, both with the singles and the doubles, and I like the font is fine. It's not too thick, it's not blurry, it's very sharp and crisp. Legibility is good. The dial being thin and the framing being thin means there's no shadow. So as I've detailed, the legibility is very good. Pulling it out to the second click position hacks the movement. So if you look at the centre subdial, where we have the short silver second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead. So it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with the caliber SW200-1. Feels smooth, clockwise and anti-clockwise through the 12 hours. And there's minimal backplay to it, so it feels very good. I like the reliability of it, the refinement, the meshing of the gearing. It feels nice and solid and reliable. Minimal backplay in it, which is good. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. You'll see the subdial second hand begin to sweep around at the characteristic 4 Hz sweep. Now again, this is something I really like about the SW200-1. It runs at 4 Hz, 28,800 vibrations per hour versus 3 Hz or 21,600. I dislike 3 Hz movements because the second hand stutters or judders around the dial. With a 4 Hz movement like this, it's got a nice smooth sweep to it, which is more aesthetically pleasing. So let's test screwing the crown back down. Instant thread pickup. There is a perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. This is one of the best screw down crowns I have experienced. I've reviewed over 400 watches on my channel, and I can tell you this is high tier level. Builds quality, quality control, finishing and tolerances. This really does feel like a Rolex trip lock crown in terms of smoothness. It is absolutely fantastic. And bear in mind, this is a mid-tier piece at 1,050. We're not looking at a high-tier piece costing €5,000 plus. Rosenbusch deserve credit because this is the perfect screw-down crown. It feels very similar to a Tudor Black Bay in terms of smoothness, and I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. So, let's look at the bracelet in detail. So, integrated bracelet tapering from 25.4, it's its widest point, down to 18 at the butterfly clasp. Articulates well. Now, as to be expected, it doesn't articulate as much as female pivoted end links used on an oyster style or Jubilee style bracelet. One has to be realistic. This is an integrated bracelet, and the problem is often with integrated angular lugs, which are brutalist design like this, they don't allow the end link in the integrated bracelet to articulate very much, but there is some articulation. Doesn't feel stiff or kink, so that's good. I'll check the other side for continuity. Again, articulates. Not as much as female pivoted end links, which is okay, but doesn't feel stiff or kink. However, the negative is we do have some slight lateral, longitudinal, side to side and up and down play. So I'd like to see Rosenbusch refine this and improve the tolerances, because they could drill the hole smaller and make the pin larger going through the integrated end link, and that would just tighten it up. Now, it's not excessive play, it just does have some slight play, but I think they could refine it and tighten up the tolerances just to make it better. With regards to the bracelet finishing, it is fantastic. Beautiful lustre to the brushed satin finishing, nice fine grained finish. This is the kind of brushed satin finishing one expects to see on a high tier piece costing in excess of €5,000, not on a mid tier piece costing €1,050. Mirror polished centre links add interest to the integrated bracelet, and they are mirror polished to perfection. They also complement the flawless mirror polishing to the flanks. No sharp edges to the top edge or the lower edge of the flanks, so it doesn't feel like a sharp bracelet, and it doesn't pull arm hairs, so it's a very comfortable bracelet. Now, the thing I like about it is it articulates freely. Every one of the links doesn't feel stiff or kink, they all articulate very freely, so very smooth articulation, no stiffness, doesn't kink whatsoever. I'll check the other side for continuity. Again, no sharp edge to the top edge or the lower edge of the flanks, flawless mirror polishing to the flanks and also the centre links. Every single link articulates freely. Fantastic. So it feels very good. Now the benefit of this is when it's on wrist, it does wrap around the wrist very well because it articulates freely without being stiff or kinking. There is a negative to it though. Does have some excess play. Now this uses screw pins, which is good. I'm pleased to see screw pins used rather than push pins as a cost-cutting measure. But both sides of the bracelet have excessive longitudinal, lateral, side-to-side and up and down play. So the positive is it does articulate freely, but the negative is slightly too much play. Now it's not a sloppy bracelet. It doesn't rattle when it's on wrist, but it just has slightly too much play in it. So I would like them to tighten up the tolerances. Again, make the hole smaller, make the screw pins larger to tighten up the tolerances so the pins are an interference friction fit, because at the moment they're slightly too loose. And as you can see, the cumulative effect across the length of the integrated bracelet is you do get this extra play. It's not sloppy, it doesn't rattle, but I just think it could be refined. So that's the one negative I'd like you to be aware of. Let's look at the case back and also the butterfly clasp. So solid mill 316L grade stainless steel butterfly clasp. It's not handed. You can close the left or the right hand portion. It doesn't overlap, which is good. Opens freely. Nice firm resistance to the two button push triggers. They feel heavily sprung loaded, so they're going to be reliable and robust. Flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks, and it's engraved with stainless steel on the right hand portion. Again, they could refine this and make it more high tier level if they engraved on the left hand portion the Rosenbusch emblem. That would further enhance it, but no sharp edges to the top edge or low edge of the flanks, and also the internals, we don't have sharp corners on the right hand or the left hand side, so that's good. Let's check the hinge pins for play. Left hand hinge pin, outer one, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excessive play. Inner left hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't have excessive longitudinal, lateral, side to side or up and down play, so that's good. Inner right hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't have excessive longitudinal, lateral, side to side or up and down play. Finally, let's check the right hand one, outer, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excessive play in any direction. This is good. So, mid-tier butterfly clasp, and really one could say this is high tier level because we have 4 tight hinge pins. Left outer, left inner, right outer. All 4 hinge pins are an interference fit. Tolerances are good. Build quality, quality control, finishing are excellent. So it's a good quality butterfly clasp. Snaps shut with a nice positive click. Deploys freely. It's a good butterfly clasp. I also like its low profile, and it's got a nice curve to it, which I'll show you in the wrist shot. Wraps around the wrist very well, even if you have a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches. Let's look at the case back. Screwed down exhibition case back, which is glazed with sapphire crystal, and it does a good job of displaying the movement, which is an elaborate grade Celite SW200-1, which is decorated with pelage finishing and blued screws. I want to give due credit to Rosenbusch here, because not only have they chosen the elaborate grade, which is decorated, rather than the standard grade, which is sterile, they've also added a decorated gilt rotor, which is skeletonized, engraved with the Rosenbusch skeletonized emblem, and also engraved with Rosenbusch text logo. For example, they could have used the cost-cutting measure to cut production costs and maximize profit margin per piece by using a standard grade of SW200-1 and the standard Celite sterile rotor. But they haven't. They've taken the more expensive option of an elaborate grade movement, which has the decoration of pelage finishing on the bridges, as you can see, and also the blued screws, and also they've added their own gilt rotor, which is skeletonized and signed. So better quality finishing, better quality decoration with the elaborate grade. It's more expensive, more aesthetically pleasing. As you can see, it's gorgeous looking with the gilt rotor. Now the case back is flat sapphire crystal glazed in the centre section, and the stainless steel portion has longitudinal brushed satin finishing to the centre, and the circumference is mirror polished. Screwed down with 8 flathead screws, which are mirror polished to a good standard. It's a nice flat exhibition case back, so it doesn't have a bubble back profile to it, which is good. The benefit of that is it's 100 metres water resistant without being too thick. This piece is only 12.1. With 100 metres and an SW200-1, I would expect this to be 13mm plus. 12.1 is very impressive. If they had a solid stainless steel case back, I would say 12.1 is nothing unusual and therefore not impressive. But glazed with sapphire crystal does add some thickness to it. But you can see how flat the exhibition case back is, so it's low profile. The benefit is that this integrated head of the piece wraps around the wrist and it fits very snug without a large gap. It doesn't sit on top of the wrist like a slab of 316L grade stainless steel. So exhibition case back is finished very well, mirror polishing is flawless, and also the longitudinal brushed satin finishing is nice and fine grained, it's smooth, and it's engraved with the specification and the reference number of the piece with high definition engraving. It's an excellent screwed down exhibition case back. The underside head of the piece is finished to perfection, so let's look at that in detail. So we've got brutalist design angular lugs, which also look like Genta design from the 1970s as per the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. Nice angular profile to the brutalist lugs, and that contrasts with the curved profile to the flanks, because we've got this nice flowing curved profile to the flanks. The thing I really like about the head of the piece is we've got this large mirror polished bevel on the undercuts to the flanks. So this deletes the sharp edge to the undercuts to the flanks, both on the crown guard side and the left hand side, but it also reduces the meat of this piece. It reduces the heft of the piece, and visually it makes the flanks look thinner rather than a thick slab-sided flank to an integrated head of the piece. So looks good, also gives it a nice curved profile. Comfort level is good, feel good factor is good, and I'll show you in the wrist shot the benefit of this large mirror polished bevel. Sits very snug to the wrist, just looks absolutely gorgeous. So brushed satin finishing is high tier level, and the mirror polishing is high tier level. We're looking at high tier level finishing, €5,000 price point plus finishing to the head of the piece, the bezel and the case back, on a mid-tier price point piece at $1,050. Rosenbusch deserve credit because there's no sharp edges or sharp corners on any facet of the head of the piece. The bezel, the case back, the head of the piece are deburred and chamfered on every edge. So it's a very well finished piece. High tier level finishing. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet, and I'm pleased to report that it does come with a very long bracelet. The benefit of that is, if you have a very large wrist, for example 8 inches plus, this bracelet will clearly fit up to a 9-inch wrist, which is very suitable for collectors with a larger wrist size. Now I have a large 8-inch wrist, as you will know from my previous reviews. Even I can slide 2 fingers beneath the bracelet and clasp at all times. I would actually remove 5 or 6 links from this even with my 8-inch wrist. The thing I like about this, and I want to give due credit to Rosenbusch here, because often mid-tier microbrands get this incorrect. They've got it right. The bracelets, integrated bracelets often don't have half links. They've added a half link on the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock side. The benefit of that is you can get the perfect fit, because the negative of a butterfly clasp is that it doesn't have any micro adjustments. There's no ratcheting mechanism. We don't have any micro adjustment in the clasp. So adding or subtracting one full link from the integrated bracelet often doesn't give collectors the correct fit. The bracelet will either be slightly too tight or too loose. That's the negative. But the benefit of having a half link either side on the 6 and the 12 side is you can remove 1.5 links either from the 6 or the 12. So you can get the perfect fit, because sometimes you need a half link, adding or subtracting it to get the perfect wrist size, a perfect size of bracelet for your respective wrist size. So they've thought this through very well. Half link either side. The other benefit is you can centralise the butterfly clasp, because often when you remove one link either side, you don't get the perfect fit, but also Sometimes if you remove an odd number of links, the clasp sits too far to the 6 or too far to the 12 o'clock side, and it spoils it because the butterfly triggers are too far to the left or the right of the wrist. But by having 1.5 links either side, you can centralise it. You can remove a half from each side, or 1.5, for example, from each side, keeping it bang on the centre. So, the thing I like about it is it's low profile. It wraps around the wrist well. It's not too bulky, doesn't stick out too far. Nice taper on the bracelet. Does look wide at the head of the piece, but that's acceptable because it is a large piece at 42, so it does need some meat on the bracelet at the integrated end link end, 25.4, but it does reduce rapidly, so 25.4 tapering down to 18 is the correct taper. If it were a 40mm head of the piece, I would say a 20 to 16 would be a better taper, but as it is large at 42, 25.4 down to 18 is correct. Visually it looks good, feels good, articulates freely. So the bracelet links wrap around the wrist very well. They don't feel stiff or kink. And as you can see, look how minimal the gap is beneath the tips of the angular lugs and also the end link in the bracelet. Doesn't have a really large gap, which often large 42mm pieces do with an integrated lug. So as you can see, wrist presence is good. Does look like Genta 1970s design, rather like a Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. It is a hefty piece, and I'm not going to be critical of it even though it's 184, because as you can see, it does come with a very long bracelet. Now, even I would remove 5 to 6 links from my 8-inch wrist. So if you remove 5 to 6 links to fit an 8-inch wrist, that's going to delete a lot of the heft down to circa 160 to 165 grams. It is still heavy, and it will still be heavy with 6 links removed. 150 is the sweet spot. I often refer to this in my previous reviews, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist or a 7 to 8-inch wrist respectively. 150 grams or below is the sweet spot for comfort level. One has to be realistic and expect a lot of heft. This is 42 by 49 long, so it does have a long lug-to-lug measurement. Clearly, this is best intended to fit collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches plus. I would say to you, if you have a smaller wrist of 6 to 7, you can rule this piece out, because 42 will be too dominating on the wrist, too much wrist presence, but also too much heft. It is a very low profile piece. The thing I like about this above all else, I would expect this to be 13 plus, because it has an exhibition case back with 100 meters, but it is only 12.1. So it's a large piece. Does wear with wrist presence, but needless to say, it will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, because it is only 12.1. It's a very low profile piece for 100 meters with an exhibition case back. AR coating works well, aesthetically pleasing, does have wrist presence. I do like the luster of the integrated bracelet and the contrast of the mirror polished centre links. Does articulate well, nice taper on the bracelet. Bezel is gorgeous. I like the octagonal profile to it with the longitudinal brush satin finishing to the top edge of it, and that contrasts with the mirror polishing to the bevel. So it's the chamfer to the edge of it. So looks good, feel good factor is good, feels comfortable because flat sapphire crystal in the exhibition case back is perfectly flat, and you can see the large mirror polished undercut deletes the sharp edge on the undercuts to the flanks, so it doesn't have any sharp edges. Brutalist lug design, but we also have the octagonal bezel to give it Genta design, so looks good, feels good. So just a heavy piece, that's the thing to bear in mind. Comfort level is good, feel good factor is good, but clearly only suitable for 7 to 8 inch wrists. Now I'm just going to show you the rubber strap that it comes with. This is excellent quality. Now I sized this and to fit my 8 inch wrist, and you can see even with a large 8 inch wrist there is still one spare hole. So this will fit from a minimum 6 inch wrist up to a maximum 8.5 inch. This is sized correctly for my 8 inch wrist, and there's still one spare hole in it, so it could go even larger to 8.5. The clasp, as you can see, the deployant, is brushed satin finished to a very high standard. No sharp edges to it, no burrs. The corners have been deburred and chamfered very well. Beautiful luster to it. Nice fine grained satin finishing to it, and engraved with high definition engraving with the Rosenbusch emblem. Now this Rosenbusch emblem, you can see, that's exactly what I would like to see them engrave on this top link of the butterfly clasp, and below it they could engrave Rosenbusch text logo. That would enhance it, because they've done it very well on this deployant, as you can see, and I think they could do the same. They could engrave the Rosenbusch emblem on the butterfly clasp. 2 button push triggers have a nice firm resistance. They're brushed satin finished, nice spring loaded action. Articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink. Let's check the hinge pins. Doesn't have excessive longitudinal, lateral, side to side or up and down play. It's good. So they deserve credit here because this is very well executed. The brush satin finishing to the top side, underside and flanks is flawless, and there's no sharp edges to it. The corners to the internals don't have any sharp corners, no sharp edges to the top edge or the low edge of the flanks. Snap sharp with a nice positive click. It's made from natural rubber rather than FKM rubber or silicone rubber. The benefit of it being natural rubber is it's stiffer than silicone rubber, but it does feel soft and supple because it's nice and thin. And it does feel very similar to FKM rubber, but they've tapered it to make it stronger around the quick release spring bars. If you look, just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus. So they've made the correct decision because it's very easy to exchange the bracelet on the head of the piece for this integrated rubber strap. As you can see, quick release spring bars negates the need for a spring bar tool. It's also very well finished because we have Rosenbusch embossed on the left hand side, as you can see. And on the other side, good attention to detail, we also have the Rosenbusch emblem embossed. So it's good quality and very easy to adjust. I'll show you. It's got two stainless steel rivets, as you can see, and satin finish to the underside, but you can easily select which size you want. So it's very easy to adjust because the rivets, they engage, they snap into the holes very well. And plenty of adjustment, minimum 6 inches up to maximum 8.5, and I really like it. It's not too bulky, it doesn't sit too proud on the wrist, and it actually feels very comfortable. I fitted it to the head of the piece and I tested it out when I sized it just to see what the maximum it could support is, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was actually loose on my 8-inch wrist. I had one spare hole, but it feels very soft and supple, rather like a silicone rubber strap. So it feels softer and more supple than an FKM Flora rubber strap. More stiffer than a silicone rubber strap, but natural rubber, of course, is very good quality, and I like it. It doesn't require any breaking in. Also like the fact it's got these recesses or these cutouts in it, so it does add interest to it rather than just being flat, but it is perfectly smooth on the underside, feels very comfortable against the wrist to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. Nice to get this included as an alternative to the bracelet. Now, of course, the benefit of this is it's much lighter than the integrated bracelet, so if you want to reduce this piece to below 150 grams to wear it for long periods of time, this rubber strap is a good alternative. But it's black. I would like to see them offer the rubber straps in colours to match the dial colours, because as I've detailed, this is the midnight blue version, and the Quest RB200 is available in 4 colour options: midnight blue, deep black, emerald green and sterling silver respectively. So I would like them to offer the straps, for example, a blue version for the midnight blue, a green version for the emerald green. This obviously suits the deep black. The sterling silver, I don't expect them to produce a silver strap, but it would be nice to have a grey strap, for example. Just nice to see if they could produce the straps in colours to match the dials. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. We're clearly looking at 5 to 6 layers of BGW9. Now, one has to appreciate that we're not looking at a dive piece, and therefore the baton indices and the baton hands are not large in area. They don't have large plots, so it's difficult to apply 5 to 6 layers on the baton hands and also the indices, but you can see there's a good colour tone match between the blue on the indices and the blue on the handset. I think they could further enhance it by adding an additional layer, because you can see it's now beginning to fade slightly. So it's difficult to do this because the baton indices aren't very deep as per, for example, a Rolex Maxi dial layout. The indices are larger and they can be engraved deeper, because you can see now the applied indices and also the baton handset is beginning to fade. So I think they could add an additional 1 to 2 layers of BGW9 on the indices and the baton hands, and that would further enhance the performance, because it's okay performance, but it's not stellar performance that one expects from 5 to 6 layers of BGW9. The other thing they could do is add X1 as an exciter mixed in with the BGW9, because as you can see now it's beginning to fade more quickly. So I think we're looking at 5 to 6 layers, but they really need to add an additional layer just to give it more potency on the baton hands and also the applied baton indices. Right, so let's discuss the movement used, because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So as I've detailed, you'll all be familiar with the Sellita SW200-1. It's one of my personal favourite Swiss calibers. Now, the SW200-1 comes in 4 grades: standard, elabore, top and chronometer grade respectively. So this is the elabore grade version, the elabore grade version, and the difference is the elabore grade version is decorated with pelage finishing on the bridges and also blued screws, and in this case it's also decorated with a skeletonized gilt rotor. The elabore grade is regulated in 3 positions, to plus or minus 7 seconds per day to plus or minus 20 seconds per day. Rosenbusch are regulating the SW200-1s they're using to plus or minus 7. This one is running consistently at plus 3 seconds per day when it's fully wound to its maximum 41-hour power reserve. So plus 3 is well within the stated accuracy for an elabore grade of plus or minus 7 to plus or minus 6. Plus or minus 7 to plus or minus 20 seconds per day. Plus 3 is actually within chronometer grade accuracy of minus 4 to plus 6. So it's excellent. So Rosenbusch regulate in 3 positions to plus or minus 7. This one's plus 3, chronometer grade accurate. I like the pelage finishing to it. Blued screws add interest, and also the decorated skeletonized gilt rotor. So 26 joules, it's a clone of the ETA 2824-2 as I've detailed. The only difference to the architecture of the 2 movements is the ETA 2824-2 has 25 joules, the SW200-1 has 26. The architecture is the same. It's been in use since 2012, so at this stage in 2025 it's reliable, well-proven workhorse Swiss caliber. Runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz, so nice smooth sweep to the second hand. Hand winding and hacking works well. Quick set date complication works well, as I've demonstrated. 41-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable, and I like everything about it. It's one of my favourite movements. Reliable, accurate, build quality, quality control, finishing are all very good, and I'm very pleased to see Rosenbusch use the elabore grade, which is decorated with blued screws and pelage finishing, versus the standard grade, which is sterile. So more expensive but better looking. So perfect choice at this price point, and the SW200-1 is a quality Swiss made caliber. So last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So mid-tier piece, price point is €1,050. I'm going to declare it good quality, and I'm going to declare it excellent value. So why do I say good quality versus excellent? Well, there are room for improvement. I would like to see the BGW9 on the baton hands and indices with an additional layer to give it 6 or even 7 layers, because it needs more performance on the Lume test. It's okay, but I think that there should be at 5 to 6 layers. It should be brighter. They could also consider adding X1 as an exciter in the BGW9 to make it brighter, more potent, make the exciter last longer. So it's okay performance, but the BGW9 needs enhancement. The other thing is, the tolerances in the bracelet need refinement. They can be improved. It's not sloppy, doesn't rattle, but it could be refined. I would like to see more refinement in the tolerances and also in the end link, tighten it up. But this is slight. It's not detrimental, but I just think at the 1,050 price point, one can't be magnanimous about this kind of play. It has to be perfect. And lastly, subjectively, I would like to see the Rosenbusch emblem and also Rosenbusch text logo engraved, because they've done a very good job, as you can see. The Rosenbusch emblem is engraved on this rubber strap, deployant to a good standard, so they are capable of doing it. This would just make it excellent quality and excellent value. So good quality, and I'm going to say value is excellent, because this is loaded with specification. The flat sapphire crystal has good quality AR coating. Quality of the finishing to the dial is high tier level. Finishing to the head of the piece is high tier level. It's €5,000 price point finishing to the bezel, head of the piece, case back, and also the bracelet is finished to excellent standards, and also the butterfly clasp is finished to excellent standards. Good tolerances, the 4 hinge pins are nice and tight. So I would say that this is excellent value at 1,050, because what we're looking at is a watch which is made in Germany, not made in China. This is made in Germany, as it states on the dial, made in Germany, and also a Swiss-made Sellita SW200-1. And at €1,050 in the mid-tier, this is very good. It's excellent value to see a made-in-Germany piece with a Swiss-made SW200-1. And also, not only a standard grade, but we're looking at a Labor A grade, which is pelage finished blued screws with a gilt signed rotor. So, good quality, excellent value. I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Rosenbusch The Quest RB200 Midnight Blue. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.